Welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Kristi Gorenson. KSPS is pleased to bring you this debate featuring the candidates running for the City of Spokane Council President. There is no incumbent in this race. The seat became open when current Council President Ben Stuckert decided to run for mayor. The candidates in this race are Breean Beggs and Cindy Wendle. Breean Beggs has practiced law for 28 years and has served on the City Council for over 4 years. Cindy Wendle is the mother of 3 boys and has worked as a bank branch manager, a direct sales consultant, and a commercial property asset manager. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, for this debate, the candidates will answer questions from a panel of Spokane journalists. Please welcome Adam Shanks, reporter for the City Desk at the Spokesman-Review, and Doug Nadvornick, program director and news director at Spokane Public Radio. Welcome to you. Before we begin, I want to go over a few of the debate rules for our viewers. All of these rules were agreed to by the candidates prior to this debate. The candidates will have 1 minute for answers. Each candidate will be allowed 2 rebuttals for the entire debate. Rebuttal length will be limited to 30 seconds. So let's begin. We did a coin flip earlier, and Cindy, you will have the opportunity to answer the first question first, and we're going to start with Adam.
All right, thank you for being here, candidates. Snow is on the ground and the city still does not have adequate capacity to shelter its homeless. What did the city do wrong and what should it do immediately to remedy the situation?
The first thing that the city did wrong was really not to address the needs of our entire region and to recognize that this is a partnership. We have to pull everybody together to make sure that we have adequate capacity, and we cannot go and do it alone. We have people out there that need our help. But we also need to make sure that our county and our outlying cities work with us because the impact that we do in the city definitely will affect our neighbors out in the outlying areas. So the most important thing is work together, recognize what the needs are, make sure that we know what our desired outcomes are, and that we work together again. That is the most important, is a regional approach.
Breean?
Yeah, so to deal with homelessness, especially in the winter, is we have to provide more shelter, more housing, more services, and more personal accountability. In this case, over a year ago, the administration closed half the shelter beds we were paying for with not a plan to replace them. And council set out a written plan at that point and said, this is what we need, and we promised to pay for it. And we got some warming centers that didn't work very well last year, and we got another promise that we would have a shelter by this July 1st. Council signed on the contract to say, yes, let's do that. Let's have a regional shelter with the county and city of Spokane Valley. And again, the mayor did not complete that project. And actually his office told me in early September, they're not going to get it done for a couple months, conveniently kind of around the election time. And we still don't have the warming centers. And we again put out our written plan for the council of what we need to solve that. And we're waiting to sign a lease and sign a contract with someone to operate it.
All right,
Cindy? I'd like to address one of the key things too about how we go about and solve our problems. And it's about leadership. It is not talking about I, it's talking about we. It's making sure that we accept responsibility for what our job is, and it's not laying blame. And this is an opportunity to make sure that this community works together, that we step up as leaders, recognize the issues that we need to solve, and do more than sit back and lay blame on people.
All right, and you can have a 30-second response, Breean.
Yeah, so I so agree we need to work together. And again, in our government, the council sets the policy and sets the plan. The mayor's office implements that. We wrote out the plan. I meet with our regional partners, county and Spokane Valley, every 2 weeks. We're working on it. But part of council's job under our charter is when the mayor doesn't do his job, we have to hold him accountable and speak the truth. 90% of the time, I am praising the mayor and the staff. But when he doesn't do what he needs to do, I need to tell you what's not happening.
So Breean, you'll take this next question first. Doug?
So Councilman, let's stay on this regional collaboration idea. And the mayor has talked about the other cities in Spokane need to do a better job, around Spokane need to do a better job of managing their own homeless. We talked with a city council member from Spokane Valley and we said, so are you sending homeless people to Spokane? He says, yeah, we are. It's where all the services are. I mean, it just makes sense to avoid the duplication of spending on all these social service issues. So is that the right approach, or should other cities be doing more to help Spokane manage its homeless issue?
Well, all cities and the entire county has to do their part. When you have someone that becomes homeless, it's important for them to stay near where they became homeless, because that's where their network is. That's how they're going to be pulled out. So Spokane Valley needs homeless shelters, and we're working on a regional one close to them that would work for that. Over the last year, we have gotten the county to agree to use a unified approach to allocating money across the county, across the cities. What the real ask from the mayor and the council has as strongly is not just the money that comes to us from the state and federal government being coordinated, which is now happening for the very first time, but actually put in your own general fund money. The city, to address this crisis, has substantially increased the money from our general fund. We want our partners in Spokane Valley and the county to put in money for that as well. We are in a crisis. It's a regional, perhaps national. So now is the time to get a handle on it. And I look forward to continuing those meetings and over the next year, getting that regional shelter in place and a complete coordinated plan.
I believe, again, a regional approach, but let's be real. There are some root causes of homelessness that we're not addressing. And in order to really be successful and to have the desired outcomes that we want, and really the desired outcome is less people needing services. Instead of having the conversation revolve so much around the more of what we're going to provide, I think the conversation really needs to go back to what the root causes are. And our current city council needs to work better, they haven't done their job, to make sure that we know what that is. And honestly, what that is we're dealing with a drug problem downtown. We have homeless that are everywhere in our community and they're not visible. And we have programs for them and we want to make sure they're helped. But the homeless that we have visible downtown and some of the problems that we're having in the heart of our city really revolve around a root cause issue that once we communicate with our regional partners, we can better address.
All right, Breean, you can use your rebuttal.
You know, the majority of money that we spend on homeless issues is actually preventative. It's keeping people in their homes. It's rapid rehousing and getting people back. The city is providing social services. We have the Envision Center where people can go every day of the work week and get services. We have our community court that's taking people involved in criminal justice, connecting them with services. So we're doing that. Mental health is mostly paid for by the county through the state and drug treatment, and we need more of that. But there's plenty of people with housing with drug treatment problems. We need to continue what we're doing to help people on the street get off the street.
If the money that we've been spending preventatively has worked, we wouldn't have the issues we have downtown. Where the money is, if it's not directed to what the root cause really is, obviously it's not working. We need to make sure that that money is directed and we use the data that we have to really talk about what the root cause is and direct those preventative services to help with that issue and make sure we know what that issue is. It's not working. We need to find a better way.
All right, thank you both. Adam, you have the next question, and Cindy, you will start.
Cindy, you've said that the root cause of homelessness is a drug problem or addiction. What's the root cause of addiction or a drug problem, and what can the city do to help treat it?
That, you bring up a really good point, and the big point of that is asking the question why. Why are we having so much drug use downtown? Why is that drug use open? Why are we tolerating that as a community and making and saying that that's okay? These people are hurting. They have got trauma in their lives and why they're there. And that's what we're not doing a good enough job of, is really digging down and asking why. We need to figure that out. That's the only way that we're going to be able to help people, is get to that root cause beyond just the drug use. But why do we have the drug use? And then also is why? Why will they accept services? What is it that we can do to make sure that our downtown is protected, that people feel safe, that our businesses have an environment that they can be successful in, and that people, when they come to Spokane, want to come back, and that the people start coming back downtown. Many of the people at the door that I talk to are avoiding our downtown.
Breean?
You know, things really got bad just over a year ago when the mayor's office canceled about 150 shelter beds downtown. That's where you saw people coming out onto the street corners. And then when we finally got warming centers, it was just overnight. And every morning we kicked people out with their stuff. We didn't give them storage and we put them out. That's the visible homeless that we see. That's what's uncomfortable for people. And that's a problem. I own a business downtown. I've been there for years. I walk that. That is a problem. And we have to do better on that. But It's that problem with drug addiction is much bigger than those people downtown. There are thousands and thousands of people with substance abuse problems. Most of them are housed. And what we have a lack of is mental health treatment and drug treatment. You can't get into a drug treatment center really almost unless you're in jail, and then you're at the top of the list. So we have to change that. That's going to go be the legislature. And we have been lobbying the legislature. We got an increase in funds. If we can solve those treatment beds for mental health and drug treatment and provide housing, then you'll see a change in downtown.
All right, moving on to the next question. Doug, you'll take that, and Breean, you'll answer this one first.
So, Councilman, what are your views about a new potential Spokane County jail? The community is having a conversation, people in the law and justice community. Sheriffs wants a larger facility. Others want more diversion options in a smaller facility. What are your views on that?
Well, we've been having this conversation for a couple of decades, and the reason it usually stops is it would cost hundreds of millions of dollars just to replace the current jail, and you would be no safer. If you want to double it, put $3,000 to $5,000 for each resident of Spokane would have to pay, and it still might not be safer. What I'm a big fan of rethinking how we do incarceration, and instead of a castle giant jail, a new one, come up with smaller facilities that are tailored to people and that really emphasize community supervision of people. Right now, we have literally hundreds of people in the jail who are not dangerous, but they don't show up for court. And so we keep them there at $135 a day. We pay for their medical. They're away from their families. We're piloting in the city pretrial supervision where we use probation officers, electronic home monitoring, other things, so we don't need those spaces. And what that means is then when the police do want to arrest someone downtown, there's space for that jail, for that person, and they get an immediate, swift consequence.
I hear two things. One is that we've been talking about this for decades. We need strong leadership. We need to build these partnerships. These partnerships aren't working right now because we're not getting the solutions that we need. The other thing too is we do need some more facilities. We need people out there need help. And what those facilities look like, we have great conversations about what we're doing and what the possibility may be. But there's no doubt in my mind that this community does need more facilities to help people and make sure that we're getting them the help that they need. The end goal, however, and the desired outcome of all of this is a safer community. We need greater police presence. We need greater response times. We need response times that are smaller so people are getting the help that they need. But if we look at downtown as an example, what we've been doing is not working. It's not safer. So we've got to do something and work together with our partners and our neighborhoods and our public to make sure that the solutions that we have are creating the desired outcomes. Downtown is not the desired outcome that we have right now. It's not what we want.
All right, thank you. Cindy, you'll take this next question from Adam.
So the city adopted campaign finance reform within the last few years. Do you think those new laws are working?
I think the campaign finance laws are an example of the city going outside its purview. We have the state PDC, and it sets the rules and the laws for how elections run. What I see is that by the city going and trying to do its own thing, that it's created somewhat of a chaos. And what we're seeing is, well, this race is going to be the most expensive council president race in the history of Spokane. You have to think and ask why. Why is this? And why is there some money coming in? And we talk about independent expenditures, but why is that? The city has gone outside its purview, and it's frustrating and it's confusing for people to understand how they can share their voice and what they can do to invest in their candidate and who they believe in.
Breean?
Yeah, so the core of the campaign finance, we're using all the state public disclosure commission laws, but we lowered the maximum donation amount from $1,000 to $500 in most cases. And the idea of that is having more people donate instead of a few people donate a lot. But one problem that we couldn't solve because it's state law is these independent expenditures from outside. And you've seen it in this race. The reason this is the most expensive race is the Washington realtors have come in with big money from Seattle-King County realtors, Pierce County, and even national realtors, and spent over $70,000 on this race. Most of that was in a primary, just completely unprecedented, and it was in support of my opponent. And although she doesn't get to control it, that's what's out there. There are literally people out there right now as we're here knocking on doors who are paid by the realtors to come into our community and do that. That is a brokenness. There's nothing the city council could do. But the actual campaign finance was very modest, has not created chaos, but it has required us to go out and ask more people for support.
I want to ask if the desired outcome was fewer people or fewer dollar amounts being invested in a race, why is this the race that is the most expensive in our history? The desired outcome didn't match what this council was trying to do, and it was going outside their purview. The amount of money that's being spent on this race outside of independent expenditures, if we don't include that, it's still the most expensive race in history. So again, going outside their purview did not produce the desired outcomes that we wanted, and it's a pattern. It's not just campaign finance. It's going back to our public safety. It's going back to our homeless. That desired outcomes don't match what they're doing.
All right, Cindy, that was your final rebuttal, and Breean, you have 30 seconds to respond.
So campaign finance is the city council purview. Nobody has challenged that law and said it's illegal. And the goal is not to reduce the overall amount of money in a race. That was not the goal. It was to get more people involved. And so Ms. Wendle is correct. There have been more donors in this city council president race than ever before in history. So to that degree, it worked. The challenge is this. Once the realtors came in with more than $11,000, I think was the limit, then that changed the limits in our race back to what they would be normally. So they sort of put the city on it. So really the challenge is this outside independent money from out of town trying to impact our elections. That really shouldn't be what it is, but that's how it is under state and federal law.
All right, Breean, you'll take this next question.
So Councilman, I want to ask about the job of council president. It's a little unique in that you're a member of the city council and yet you're sort of the liaison to the mayor and the administration's office. How do you view your role in relationship with the council and the mayor if you're council president?
Well, what's great about the council president in some ways is he or she doesn't really have a lot of formal power, but plays a role and kind of the first point of contact. And I have been playing that role on the council since I've been on it. When I first got on the council, the mayor was under investigation and really wasn't talking with many of the council members. And because I hadn't been part of that, I kind of joined with senior administration people. We put together a strategic planning process and got everyone back together, unified around a plan. And that was probably the best thing that's happened since I've been on council. If I was actually the council president, I mean, that would be a more regular situation. I would be the designated person to go talk with the mayor and the city administrator, also county government, city of Spokane Valley, kind of the go-to person on that, not the exclusive, because anyone could do that. I've been playing that role somewhat since I've been on it. And most importantly, I think the role is to coach the other council members, to help them fulfill the dreams of their constituents, understanding really how the government works and the budget and things like that.
Cindy?
We can do better than what we see today. Leadership really matters. And the role of the council president is to set the tone, to accept responsibility, and really step up as a leader and work together. Get things done. No excuses, no blaming. Talk about that earlier. But really the most important thing is to get to yes for this community. Because the council president and the role that they have is not about I. It's about we. And it's really about listening to people and bringing the voice of our community back into government and making sure that our leaders are held accountable to the people. It's not our ideas. It's not about I. Again, it's about we. And working with everybody to try and come up with solutions. The people that I talk to at the door really want collaborative, they want collaborative work. They want compromise. And we're not going to do that if we stand up and say it's my way or the highway. It's our way together.
All right, moving on to the next question. And Cindy, you'll take this one first. Adam?
Are these incentives like the Multifamily Tax Exemption program effective tools to spur housing development in Spokane, or are they just handouts to developers?
Well, I think you bring up a good point. Right now, we have a housing crisis, and we've known about this for 4 years, and our current council has not done enough to address it. It's a supply issue. We do not have enough housing. We need more of everything, more of condos, townhomes, apartments, and homes. We need to talk about people being able to get into renting apartments. We also need to talk about people being able to buy homes. So any tool that we have in the toolbox, I think we need to make sure that we look at and use. The multifamily tax exemptions, we need to work with developers as well. They have ideas, they know, and they're in this market, and it is tough. But our council needs to do a better job, and we haven't been addressing it and working together with all of the stakeholders, bringing everybody to the table to make sure that this is addressed and that our housing is in the right place in our community as well. That's really important to our neighbors and our neighborhoods.
Breean?
Yeah, you know, throughout this campaign, my opponent continues to say, yep, council hasn't done it. But I've rarely, if ever, heard a specific solution she wants us to do that we haven't been doing, or criticizing us for a specific thing that we have done. For housing, you mentioned the multifamily tax exemption. That's a tool the state legislature gave us, that we forgive the property taxes for 8 to 12 years for new multifamily developments in targeted areas. What we've done on the council is said, we're not going to do that up on the outskirts of town. We're going to do it in the downtown, in the centers and corridors where we want density, where we already have our infrastructure so it doesn't cost taxpayers. And developers are taking those offers up in spades and building that housing that we need. The other thing that we've done as a council in the tools that we have is we've changed our zoning code so that multifamily houses, apartments that used to be only 2 stories can now be 3. That's a 50% increase. We've increased the number of units in single family on a particular lot. That's what we have done, and developers like that because we've worked with developers.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Breean, you'll take this next question from Doug.
So, Councilman, I want to ask you about how the police ombudsman system is working. The ombudsman sometimes talks about how he can't get access to the documents that he wants in order to be able to be an effective check on the police department. How would you assess how the ombudsman system is working right now as we talk?
It's way better than not having one, but we're not there yet. I really led the charge back in 2007 to get an Office of Police Ombudsman. It was very challenging to do. We had community forums, we got people together. We even worked with Whitworth to do a play about police-involved deaths and got the city council and the mayor to come watch it, and that changed it. And we got police oversight. Since we've had police oversight, the use of force that our officers use have gone down substantially. The complaints about officer misconduct have gone down substantially. We have worked together with the Department of Justice and the Ombudsman's Office to voluntarily accomplish 42 goals and changes. Police faith from the community is up from 55% to 85%. I worked on those long before I was on council, but continue to work on it. The challenge now is we have to get there. The Ombudsman needs total access and the ability to write his or her independent report. We need to get that last piece, and then we'll be there.
All right, Cindy?
The issue of the police ombudsman is an issue of transparency. And this community deserves and desires transparency in knowing what our police department is doing and how they're responding to the needs of the community. What is frustrating for me and many people that I've talked to is that our police have been without a contract for 3 years. The leadership in the city has not worked together with the police to figure this out. And there are issues that are holding this up. So when I see this, and I'm frustrated as well and feel like our community is not being listened to, why are we not getting to yes into some kind of solution? Is it because our leaders are not trying to compromise and do the right thing for all the people at the table and all the different people that have needs met? Transparency is the ultimate goal, but the actual outcome needs to be that our police feel supported by this community, that our community feels supported by our police, and that we feel safe.
All right, you can use your last rebuttal, Breean.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that we need to heal that relationship between police and the community. When I got involved in 2006 on the AutoZem case, it was completely broken. It's way better than it was, but it's not there. The thing on the police contract is only the mayor can negotiate that. Council isn't allowed to participate until there is a tentative agreement. I actually went to the mayor and said, will you please start negotiating, because he hadn't done it for a long time. We are waiting for a tentative agreement. If we try to negotiate it and get that going, we will be in trouble with the law. So we're waiting for that tentative agreement, and we look forward to signing it.
Cindy, you have 30 seconds, if you like.
Again, I think this is a symptom of leadership. It's accepting responsibility for what can be done and getting to yes. I am not saying that we go out and go outside the scope of the law. What I'm saying is that we have conversations and that good, strong leaders find a way to build those relationships to get things done. And that's what this council hasn't done for this community, is really step and provide us what we need.
All right, thank you to you both. That has to be the last question. It's time now for closing statements. And before the debate, we flipped a coin, and Cindy, you will go first.
Great, thank you. I'm Cindy Wendle, and I want to thank you to everybody here, to you as well for watching. I care deeply about our community. We need strong leaders to recognize where we need to be and how we're going to get there together. Unfortunately, the current city council hasn't done their job, and many of us feel left out and unheard. By voting for Cindy Wendle, you believe that outcomes matter, that we're going to treat the disease and not just the symptoms, and that the city's role is not just to solve problems alone, but to really coordinate with our neighborhoods and our regional partners to make sure that we have the desired outcomes that we want. We do this with trusted partnerships. We do this with transparent communication. And we do this by listening to people. And we do it by listening to you. In just a week, your ballots will arrive. Join me in believing there's a better way. Join me in believing that bold and active leadership matters. I'm Cindy Wendle. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Breean?
I'm Breean Beggs. I've been a community leader across 2 decades in Spokane. I've lived in all 3 districts: Hilliard, West Central, Lower South Hill. In 2017, you overwhelmingly elected me to the City Council. I work for you, fixing streets faster, reducing crime, solving our housing issues. The City Council is a legislative branch. We set budgets, we pass laws, we create policies, and when the mayor doesn't follow them, we hold him accountable to that. I am known for creating innovative plans, for bringing different people and groups together, for listening to all people, and most of all, for getting results. Please vote for Breean Beggs for City Council President so I can be your voice in city government. And if you want to see my written specific plans, visit my Facebook page, People to Elect Breean Beggs, or my website at electbeggs.com. Thanks, Spokane. Let's keep the momentum going.
Well, that will have to do it for this debate. Our thanks to the candidates, Cindy Wendle and Breean Beggs. Also, our thanks to our journalists, Adam Shanks and Doug Nadvornick. The debate and other election specials can be found online at ksps.org. Just look for the Election 2019 icon. For all of us at KSPS, thanks for watching.